Hi all, welcome to the SBC guide for January. Plenty to cover here with a lot of routes popping up for this month, which is pretty awesome, and there's a lot of worthwhile SBCs in general doing. So hopefully you find this useful. As always guys, smash likes as always, sub to the channel if you're new, follow me on Twitter at GSLegend. All the links are down below for playlists in the channel and social media links as always. And of course if you're getting prepped for Team of the Year, a lot of these SBCs are probably worth doing for their respective packs. So Ajax is the first one standing out worth doing. It is a 25k pack, setting you around 6.5 to 7.5k to do if you have none of the players. And what I'm noticing is, like for me, I've got quite a lot of them packed. Van Leer's the only one I've actually, I'm sure I've got a spare one on the transfer list, but regardless, fairly cheap, fairly straightforward, don't have to worry about loyalty or any position changes. But yeah, like St. Graven, De Ligt, Van der Beek, I can't remember who the left centre back is, my brain is completely gone. And Lamprou is your goalie, which is kind of handy in this case. But I'm sure quite a few of us have got these players packed at some capacity, which will help keep the cost down. Staying in Holland, you've got Utrecht, which is a 10k pack, and it only costs you 4k to do. You can squeeze it into the 3k bracket if you are doing it on bids, which is probably going to be useful for like the bronzes. You can probably get them for 150. And there's quite a few. Initially there was one extra bronze, but currently there is a cheaper way using the centre mid on the right and then the dude at right back, and then you're kind of finding it's working out considerably cheap. It works out about 250, 300 coins cheaper on buy now, which is not too bad in all honesty. If you also do it on open bid, you might find you'll get them cheaper. Lyon is the only French route worth doing, which is kind of crazy. It's a 15k pack and it costs around 7 to 8k to do, and I would say personally it's worth doing. For me, I've got Grenier and the goalkeeper packed. Luckily the goalkeeper is what you need, but Traore's not too expensive. A lot of people I've seen in the routes use Cornet at left wing. Obviously he's a right winger, but he's a bit more expensive. You can do it cheaper doing Marquee at left back and then Mendy the left back, and then you just kind of rely on a goalkeeper from there. Benfica, fairly straightforward as well, 25k pack for 6k coins, which is kind of crazy. I think a lot of it stems because of the non-rares like Zivkovic, Chervy, Louis Sau, Gabriel, Almeida. They're relatively cheap, and Svlar goes for like 200, the left centre back doesn't go for much, which kind of keeps your cost down. And obviously if you have them packed, then it makes it a little bit easier to build. And the goalkeeper, Varela I think it is, he's not too expensive either. As always guys, I will leave the tweet for the sheet in the description below as well, and if as I say, if you need any routes, screenshot them and help yourself guys. Boavista, fairly cheap and fairly straightforward, 7k pack for 3.5 to 4k spend. The reason why this falls into the bracket of worth doing is because it is like a premium silver players pack, and silver players, especially if you get like a Kluivert or even one of the Leo players for example, or want someone from the Russian league or a championship team, or any of the big, like any of the league SBCs that a team is expensive and you're sorted, like it's worth the gamble really. But 3k on open bid you can do it a lot cheaper. I've seen it done for like nearly 2.5. Braga, another cheap one of 15k for 4.5 to 5k spend, which is pretty good going to be honest, especially when you look at some of the players you're buying, but like Horta, Hassan, Fran Sergio, Raul, they're not very expensive really. I find it interesting that some people were doing this route, this SBC, using either loyalty or position changes and try to pass it off as dirt cheap. The dude at left back is what you only really need to kind of keep it sorted, because people were putting two left mids, left mid at left mid and left mid at left back, and thinking, oh this is brilliant, we can do it that way. Guimara is fairly straightforward, a 12.5k pack for around a 4.5k spend, 4 to 4.5k, and can't really see too many complaints about it. Fairly cheap, fairly straightforward, and the team does have a few goals in it, but they are like 900 coins or something. I think it's 800-900 for both, and in reality you not really want to pay that if you can do it cheaper using other players, which in this case this team does. And in all honesty, like Wakazo's really well, Caswell and Chelsea, they only go for like 400 anyway, so you're not really having to spend much, and it's just a case of building the team around them, and you're not going to break the bank. Zenit has kind of plummeted in value by the looks of it, because it's now only to 7.5 to 8k to do for a 25k pack. The big difference is, don't use Karpov and Zuev. Try and look at Mamama. If you can get Ivanovic on the cheap, then you're sorted, because putting Ivanovic in kind of changes the whole complexion of this team, mainly because of the rating, and you can then play it about a little bit more. But in reality, this is as good as you're going to get it, and it probably will remain this way for probably the rest of FIFA. Then over to Big Gitas. I'm waiting for the Big Gitas jokes to kick in, but 7.5 to 8k to do for a 25k pack. Not too many difficulties with this. A lot of people are throwing in Medell and then putting it off as the cheapest, when in reality it's a case of Usal, Hutchison, Ozyakup, and I can never remember the last dude. I can never remember his name. And once you get them all in, you're kind of sorted, and it's just a case of just putting in like Boyko, Gonal, Gokanturi, Pektimek, Babel, and Cheney Erkin, and you're kind of sorted. It's not going to break the bank for 8k. You can obviously maybe do it cheaper on open bids or snipes if you're patient, but fairly straightforward, and I could not complain one way at all about this. And as I said, when you go through like the leagues in general as well, you're finding quite a few can pop up relatively cheap. But hopefully you find this useful, guys. Let me know in the comments down below what ones you've been doing. I will leave the tweet to this down below, and obviously the update sheet. Smash like as always, sub to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch you all later.